Okay, so we're in session point 73.10 through 37 under Catalyst. We did 10, 11 last time. We did 12, 13, we did 14, 15. Okay, we got pretty far through this sequence. Okay, so 73.17, questioner. In the exercise of the fire, then I assume that the healer would be working with the same energy that we spoke of as entering through the crown chakra. Is this correct? I am Ra. This is correct with some additional notation necessary for your thought in continuing this line of study. When the magical personality has been seated in the green ray energy center for healing work, the energy then may be seen to be the crystalline center through which body energy is channeled. Thus, this particular form of healing uses both the energy of the adept and the energy of the upward spiraling light. As the green ray center becomes more brilliant, and we would note this brilliance does not imply overactivation, but rather crystallization. The energy of the green ray center of the body complex spirals twice. Firstly, clockwise from the green ray energy center to the right shoulder, through the head, the right elbow, down through the solar plexus, and to the left hand. This sweeps all the body complex energy into a channel, which then rotates the great circle clockwise again from the right. We correct this instrument from the left to the feet, to the right hand, to the crown, to the left hand, and so forth. Thus, the incoming body energy crystallized, regularized, and channeled by the adept's personality, reaching to the green ray energy center, may then pour out the combined energies of the adept, which is incarnate, thus offering the service of healing to an entity requesting that service. This basic situation is accomplished as well when there is an entity which is working through a channel to heal. And there's a little notation here. I'm going to click that. And 74.19, Ra offered a correction to 73.17, saying, in the exercise of the fire, you may see the initial spiral clockwise from the green ray energy center, through the shoulders and head, then through the elbows, then to the left hand. The channel had been corrected before the remainder of this answer was completed. So this seems to be referring to the healing exercise that Ra was teaching Jim, Carla, and Don, the one that without proper commitment, you would most likely end up depolarizing if you didn't render the service of that practice once you learned it, as well as their requirement being to have studied more fully the principles of healing and of the mind, body, spirit in sessions 4 through 6. So those being the foundations to them teaching them healing in the way that they do. And then, of course, we're kind of getting a little glimpse into that exercise, which seems to be a very specific rotation of energy, bouncing between the different parts of the body.
I don't want to interrupt, Ashley, but if you go onto, because you got the screen share, if you go into the messages, I've actually got two graphical representation of how the energy moves around. I don't know whether you want to look at them, but they're really good diagrams of this process.
Let's see. You put it in the messages of. Oh, hold on. I
Just
see
in the
it
chat.
down here. Okay, I see. Um, Let me screenshot this and then hold on. Because when I go to, let me see if I can screen share this directly from my phone. Okay. Everyone can see. Do you guys see the diagram or no?
Yep. Yep.
Okay, so um I thought it would look kind of like this. Um but what I'll say what I'll say here is it seems like this particular rotation is activating the sacred geometry within to enhance the energy of the creator that's coming through the crown chakra and then magnifying the energizer or healer's green ray in order to do the working. Um, it's a very beautiful image, uh, but I feel like there's something else here that was standing out to me, and that is that this is a healing practice that not does it doesn't just use the light from the creator, but it's also utilizing your own energy in some way. And I think that's also where it comes into play that you have to be committed to the practice and committed to following the principles of that were given in session 4 through 6, because only from that place of working would you even be able to be crystallized enough at green ray to kind of have that harmonious use of energy for this practice. Because it's not just that you're opening to the infinite creator and just letting the energy flow, you are actually giving of your own body, energy body. That's very interesting. Another thing that stood out is that the radiance of the green ray, when you're using it for this healing practice, is that its crystallization doesn't mean that it's overactivated or imbalanced. It's just a sign of your ability to express more of that pure, unconditional, loving energy. None of this really has any particular use to us in this moment unless we've actively begun to do the exercise of fire or we're in preparation to be able to do it for others. Welcome, Josh.
I do think it's one of the best examples that Ra gives of how to proceed with kind of energy work, though, and how the kind of learning to move these energies around us in specific ways is, in my opinion, going to be important as we move forwards. So I don't know. I really like that bit of the raw material. I think it gives a real glimpse to what we should be kind of focusing on on learning to do that we can do. We just need to learn how.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it has its benefits. It's giving like a what I'm perceiving it it as is two parallel Fibonacci sequences that are spiraling in each other in nested loops. That's what it looks like when I look at that energy diagram, and also the way that Ra describes it. So, yeah, there's something very sacred about that movement. I acknowledge that 100%. And if
I
anyone
also love the
wants
way that
to actually learn this method, there is a process. You would just email um, LO Research contact and then express your interest and a little background about the who, what, where, when, and why of you and why you're feeling called. And then you'll begin the process. It's to even begin, it's like you're looking at a year or more just to even begin. Um, and definitely studying those sessions, read sessions 4 through 6, to understand what's required of you, and if you're doing that in your personal workings every day. So yes, it's possible to learn this method. Just there's responsibility with it because you can depolarize if you do not use the service, even though you've been given the ability, the knowledge to. Welcome, Grace. The diagrams are in the chat. If you look at the um, pictures, you'll see the green ray energy movements in the way that um, it seems Ra was describing when referring to that process of the exercise of fire. So we'll go to the next session point. I thought that it was actually 37 point. 1 second. It was actually shorter than I thought. It was 73.17. Um, that's weird. All right, we'll continue. Thank you, Ed, for sharing the images again.
it's okay. I know sometimes if you come in late, then you don't see all the messages that came before you got there. So maybe that's why.
Gotcha. Okay. 73.18. Questioner, could you tell me how this transfer of light, I believe it would be, would affect the patient to be healed? I am Ra. The effect is that of polarization. The entity may or may not accept any percentage of this polarized life energy which is being offered. In the occasion of the laying on of hands, this energy is more specifically channeled, and the opportunity for acceptance of this energy similarly more specific. It may be seen that the King's Chamber effect is not attempted in this form of working, but rather the addition to one whose energies are low, the opportunity for the building up of those energies. Many of your distortions, called illnesses, may be aided by such means. And so we're still on this healing practice, and it makes sense that the laying on of hands would be very potent. And of course, we know that any healing is actually the person who wants to be healed. It's their own energy. We're just being the energizer or the catalyst. Excuse me. It is interesting that the laying on of hands, this kind of invoking of the energy of the healing space is not exactly going to give the king's chamber effect. But I guess you would have to offer more specific geometries if you want the king's chamber effect. Because from what I remember, it's also a healing. Its its purpose was to offer healing to the whatever being is entering the chamber, and that's the nature of the king's chamber energy is to heal. So I guess I'm wondering how exactly it's different from the healing that is the laying on of hands.
I think like a purpose-built superstructure that kind of harnesses the whole planet's energy and focuses it into a little tiny box to open your mind, probably a little bit more powerful than somebody going, "I heal you," and putting their hands on you. This is my opinion.
Do you
Because
think
of the context of 73.17, it seemed like Don went right into saying, could you tell me how this transfer of light from the exercise of fire, how it would affect the individual? So it's not something like, oh, I heal you in a simple way. It's the exercise of fire, but I guess that's a different mode to the king's chamber, which I guess would be more planetary cosmic energy, where one
Use
is,
a crystal or something.
yeah,
It's a
maybe.
technique, though.
Yeah, I guess it's a technique. I mean, it's all the creator's energy anyway, just different forms of intelligent energy and will manifesting. But I, I, I agree with you, Ed. Perhaps the king's chamber, which is supposed that effect is supposed to be one of healing. The difference may be that one is tied to geometries and invoking planetary energy to do the working, and the other is just the vessel of the channel itself, the individual, human or otherwise, and then their connection to Creator and their own green ray.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, but I mean, don't get me wrong. Miracles can happen. Like if somebody accepts the template fully, then why couldn't they heal anything really? But I'm just assuming that the doing it inside the fire in the middle of the pyro mid is going to be the big cosmic event rather than just a kind of accepting the template. Was my guess.
I wonder if they're saying it without saying it, that the King's Chamber type of healing is more akin to the to true healing. And when they're talking about laying hands on and that not having a King Chambers effect, I wonder if they're saying without saying it that that's not true healing, that that's you healing another, which is temporary. It's not them healing themselves. It's just a
Oh,
I
guess.
you're right.
I
I,
don't think that's the case, because whether you're in the pyramid at that point in time in that location, or whether you've invoked geometrically a replica of that energy, if you are not accepting, you will not receive any, the healing will not manifest. So even though you have that time space configuration formed with the potency of the king's chamber, if the incarnate, for whatever reason, doesn't want to accept it, and this can be subconscious, it usually is, then it won't matter if you laid your hands on them or if you sent them Reiki through the distance or if you did the exercise of fire or if you stuck them in a pyramid. So I think ultimately it does come down to the individual wanting to be healed. If they accept it, it's their acceptance, and their true acceptance of it is what activates their own ability to heal. And we're never able to heal anyone, which is why I've stopped at least mentally referring to it as, oh, the healer. It's really, I like Ra's term for it, the energizer or the catalyst, capital C. That's how they refer to the what we call the healer. And what we're doing is we're kind of that matchstick, um, or striker, but they're the match. We're just being the catalyst that allows them to ignite their own ability. We energize that faculty inside of them. We don't really do anything truly. So it's never us healing, not ever.
Don't
I
they
Does
say
that
thought
make
something about
sense?
not laying on hands on the head or something?
Say that again.
Don't they advise against like the laying on hands on your head?
Um, I've never seen that anywhere.
Mhm.
I think it's okay to place the hands on the head if the person wants to be is okay with having hands on the head. Assuming you've asked for consent, and the key thing is here requested. Ross said if they request the healing. So there are some foundational parts to this process that just Ra didn't go over them again, but they're very important as far as the consent and the willingness of the individual. Truthfully, it doesn't necessarily matter what method is used as long as the energizer or the catalyst is crystallized and the individual desiring to be healed truly desires it from their whole being and has no resistance, such as not feeling worthy of the healing, which is a common one, such as being addicted to the state of dis-ease, whatever that is, mental, emotional, physical, and or pre-incarnative ties. This is why if we look at the times, Bible times, we'll call it, we see the story of those being healed. I think it's a woman who was healed just by touching the hem of Yeshua's garment. And think about that. How much, what is a garment? Surely Yeshua's clothes were just normal, regular clothes, but because of her faith and her willingness, she was able to just touch the end of his robes and receive healing. In that moment, Yeshua acted as the energizer and the catalyst, capital C, for her to tap into her own ability to do the working. And it's like what I noticed and remembered about that story is that Yeshua wasn't looking at her, didn't talk to her, didn't do any kind of ritual or preparatory process. It was just that he noticed the fluctuations of energy and turned to her. And then she was like, oh, I received my healing in so many words. And naturally, according to your faith, be it done unto you. So that's really, mm, that's the really foundational part of success. None of these things work, whether the energy is going clockwise, counterclockwise, perpendicular, whether in a pyramid, a trapezoid, a square. It doesn't matter. unless you, the energizer, are crystallized and the individual is truly willing. Oh, sorry, Fred, your hands is up.
Oh, that's okay. Um, something to point out. Adam, that saying what Adam said, I didn't even realize that until you saying that. But when I went through discipleship and training in Church of the Nazarene, when we went over praying for people and laying hands on people, you were instructed by the pastors to most of the time concentrate your hand laying on their shoulders or their body or their back or their chest or somewhere upper body, directing your hands toward their heart, because the heart was considered to be like the seat or the throne of your spirit, for the Holy Spirit to come and sit on your heart. That's like the throne for the Holy Spirit to reside in you. So that was the most effective way, unless the healing was for something like a brain tumor or their eyes or something up higher, where it would be more efficacious to direct the energy up there. But there really wasn't much other than that described about it. It's maybe in exoteric religions, it's not really, well, I mean, we know that it's not, but just not something you really expound upon.
Right.
But I thought that was odd when I heard Adam ask that.
That is very interesting. I have no doubt that there are practices that are rooted in like really ancient understandings about hand placement, about energy movements, and that there's a reason why those techniques are done the way that they're done. I'm pretty sure there's something older that they based that knowledge off of. Okay, I see this session point you posted, Colin.
Yeah, that's me kind of correcting myself. It looks like what they're talking about in that session is using yellow ray only to heal somebody is not true healing, but it still can work. It's temporary. And not
Right.
using green ray, but using yellow ray instead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you.
They probably have like negative entities would heal, right?
Good, yeah, or positive, just trying to do their best, but not actually doing it right.
Yeah,
Good
true.
intention, but
Or not involving enough love and leaning more into the ego. Like, I'm doing it. I'm the healer. It's
right.
me. I have the power. Can come from a good place, but not the most ideal for long lasting effect. You're not a very good energizer when you come from it from that angle.
Yeah, and a lot of opportunity for negative polarization because you're making somebody dependent on you for the healing too. So it's not a good way to go either.
Yeah, things can become very parasitic in that way really quickly. Okay, we'll continue on. Uh, 18, 19, 73.19. Questioner. I'll make a general statement which you can correct. The way I see the overall picture of healer, of energizer, and patient is that the one to be healed has because of a blockage in one of the energy centers or more, but we will just consider one particular problem. Because of this energy center blockage, the upward spiraling light that creates one of the 7 bodies has been blocked from the maintenance of that body, and this has resulted in a distortion from the perfection of that body that we call disease or a bodily anomaly, which is other than perfect. The healer, having suitably configured its energy centers, is able to channel light, the downward pouring light, through its properly configured energy situation to the one to be healed. If the one to be healed has the mental configuration of acceptance of this light, the light then enters the physical complex and reconfigures the distortion that was created by the original blockage. I am sure that I have made some mistakes in that. Would you please correct them? I am Ra. Your mistakes were small. We would not at this time attempt a great deal of refinement of that statement, as there is preliminary material which will undoubtedly come forward. We may say that there are various forms of healing. In many, only the energy of the adept is used. In the exercise of fire, some physical complex energy is also channeled. We might note further that when the one wishing to be healed, though sincere, remains unhealed, as you call this distortion, you may consider pre-incarnative choices, and your more helpful aid to such an entity may be the suggestion that it meditate upon the affirmative uses of whatever limitations it might experience. We would also note that in these cases, the indigo ray workings are often of aid. Other than these notes, we do not wish to further comment upon your statement at this working. So it's kind of just rehashing the things that we've been talking about. I think I just want to call to mind the idea that to be a healer, there is this, or energizer, there is a very important aspect, and that is to be able to channel light, the downward pouring light, as Don's referring to it here, and that the configuration of the energy centers of the individual who wants to be energizer, that is most important. Otherwise, you won't be able to channel the light that would ignite the other self's ability to accept and tap into their own power to heal themselves. As I read this, it does make me laugh, because I think about it like whether you're receiving the energy, giving the energy, it's all the creator dancing in different modes and different forms with itself. The energy that you open up to become the channel is energy that is within you and a part of you, and also a part of them as well. So technically, there's never a time where it isn't flowing, but doing these elaborate processes, taking the time and energy, it's just like a bunch of permission slips for us to do things that we are already able to do, to step back into a state that we're always actually in. We're always in a healed, whole state. We're always in a perfect state. It's just our minds. It's our perspective, it's our perception that gives the illusion that we're not. And then we run into problems. Any thoughts, comments, questions on any of this?
I probably should have raised my hand if someone else has anything they can go first.
Oh, let me get out of screen share.
Um,
Go ahead. I don't see any
Thank you.
hands up.
Thank you, Ashley. So I was just listening to what you were saying there, and uh, so what? And I'm also doing laundry at the same time, so I'm a bit distracted. I apologize. But what struck me was when you said, which is a state that we're always actually in, and then you followed it up by, but we get distracted by like, and then all the things that you mentioned, and I was like, wait a minute. Um, because
Hmm.
yeah, so this is really interesting to me because I've in this journey, uh it's always been described to me as like the negative spiral, right? The ego,
Hmm. Hmm.
that um that's like, I'm just really kind of shocked, actually. That's why I'm having a really hard time articulating this.
That's
So
okay.
yeah, because I think I guess I'm still holding on to. I'm trying to say this without laying any blame because I'm my responsibility, right?
That's okay.
Uh, because the way that I have been, the spiritual um communities that I have sort of come from and left and go back into and come out again.
Hmm.
So what I hear, and I guess I've been maybe, I guess this is like in my fiber of my being, like, I don't want to say programmed, indoctrinated or whatever, but because I find those like negative words, but what I have taken on
Hmm.
is this idea that nope, like you're always an ego that's always there, and the trick is to get back to, get back to and plugged into source, right? So
Hmm.
you got to go back and plug into source, right? But the idea that so my thinking has been like, well, I'm just by default like, someone who lives from ego and that is controlled by, my environment and things happening around me and stimuli, and I react to that. So I gotta plug into source to get out of that. Um,
Okay.
yeah, so no,
Mhm.
I had to share that because so I'm hearing you say something different that I think I've been being told, but I haven't really been listening. So I'm always there.
Hmm.
I'm
Yes.
always, yes. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for letting me share that. I appreciate everyone here, and I'm grateful to be here with you all tonight. Thank you, Ashley, for putting on this gathering. I'm going to mute now. Thank you.
You're so welcome. And thank you for your sharing. What you've described is the dance we go through our whole lives, no matter how much material we consume and no matter how much experiences we have in 3D. It's and that dance is that we're striving towards something in all these different ways as if we're lacking, and yet we the dance is to recall that we are not lacking as we it's a bit of a it's like we're running in circles sometimes, but we're always trying to realize or remember that wholeness that we are, that connection that we have. And so all this time we're striving and running in different directions to a destination we're already at. But therein lies the fun for the creator, for intelligent infinity, to have that veil and to do the running, jumping, skipping, hopping, to have the adventure just to realize that you are in the place that you are seeking, that you've always been there. And for me, it's very empowering and it lets me take a step back when sometimes there's just too much going on. I mean, there are a million spiritual practices, books, videos, mantras, shows, retreats, speakers, podcasts, all of it in the attempt to stimulate some change or help you tap into source. And then our Confederation friends always say that the source is within you and you are love incarnate and you are light, living love. And so there's a lot of times where I just step back into that. And that's easiest with meditation, just sitting quietly. Even if you don't have your eyes closed, just sitting and just being, and then knowing that in that moment, everything is perfect and you are there, that you never left. You never left the creator. And it's wild. You don't have those moments all the time, because then that would defeat the purpose of an incarnation. But when you do have it, it's really profound that when you can just breathe and say, I'm there. The creator's here, is with me. I'm perfect. There's nothing to strive for. There's nothing to fight. There's nothing to twist or change around. I'm love and I am loved. At least for me, it's this feeling of unconditional love and of being love in the flesh. And in that state, you naturally aren't trying to do anything or be anything or want others to be things for you or want the world to be something for you or mold to a vision. You just love it as it is and you feel the creator in it. So yeah, that's always available to us. We can play our games. Well, they're not really games. This is very serious, guys. But we can do our things in our incarnation, but ultimately we are right where we've always been, and the light and the love of the one infinite creator.
Hey,
Go ahead, Ed.
I just said that was beautiful. That's all.
Oh, thanks. Yes, Dan. It feels like circles, but we're actually still spiraling up. Yeah, for sure. Spiraling up and spiraling down at the same time. Yeah, Bill, in resonance with everything. We're always whole, complete, and perfect. And we'll spend our entire incarnation figuring that out to various levels and in various ways, including service and creation. We'll move on. (73.20) Questioner. It seems to me that the primary thing of importance for those on the service to others path is the development of an attitude, which I can only describe as vibration. This attitude would be developed through meditation, ritual, and the developing appreciation for the creation or creator, which results in a state of mind that can only by me be expressed as an increase in vibration or oneness with all. Could you expand and correct that statement? I am Ra. We shall not correct this statement, but shall expand upon it by suggesting that to those qualities you may add the living day by day and moment by moment, for the true adept lives more and more as it is. Don calls to mind here that the foundation to those on the service to others path is oneness, being able to experience the unity of all. And of course, he mentions different ways to get to that state or vibration: meditation, ritual, appreciating the creation. But that ultimately it should lead to being able to experience the vibration of oneness. I think that's paramount in this journey. The ability to feel like everything is connected. Maybe we won't be able to feel like exactly like someone else. Like if you're a ballet dancer, maybe you can't perceive exactly how your other self, who is a mechanical engineer and 10 years older than you and has had all these different experiences, maybe you can't exactly perceive what that is like. But to know that there is something in them that is also in you, and that what that is binds you closer than breath, more strong than any blood ties. If you can hold on to that vibration and extend it to everything, that really opens up your the quality of your catalyst, as far as what happens to you. No less intense, but you're able to get more out of it. You're able to see the love and feel the wisdom in what's happening and see what it means for you and what you can take advantage of that experience, what you can get out of it. Yeah, so oneness is important. And then I really liked that Ra called to mind that living day by day is important, and moment by moment, that's a hallmark of an adept, to become more and more of who they really are, just being rather than doing. Any thoughts, comments, questions on any of that? Okay.
I have a question. Sorry for taking so long to unmute.
No, you're okay.
So, and what you were saying there about sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Would you say in that case that individual following that philosophy would not think about the future and make plans for stuff?
I do know some other selves like that, and they always seem to be right where they need to be and having the experiences they need to have, and they're not bad. But I do feel like it's difficult to maintain that state all of the time. But I know there's many who do that. They don't plan, they just go with the flow of the moment. What occurs to them in the moment, they act on it and worry about the aftershocks of whatever the event is, whatever they're doing. They worry about that later. It's worth
Or maybe they
trying.
don't worry about it at all.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, especially if it
Everything's
has
always
no real
perfect.
consequence. Yeah, I'm not. I try to be that way, but I'm not that way nearly as much as others' selves are. I'm still quite conservative in my choices. I think very deeply before I do anything, and because because I know that our thoughts and actions are not just in an echo chamber. They reflect to everything around us, and many of our seeming little actions or words or thoughts always have a domino effect in ways seen and unseen. So for me, the idea of just doing something without thinking, without outlining it, that's not something I can really empathize with at this time, but I see its value, and I do have an admiration for how freeing that must feel to just do it and to just live like that. How about you? Do you consider yourself, anyone consider themselves this way? They just no plan, just live moment by moment all of the time for the most part?
I actually,
I'll say that I think in past incarnations, we have totally lived like that. And as we go from incarnation to incarnation, we kind of settle down, if you will. We start to get the instinct and the intuition to start looking at things more closely instead of just reacting.
That makes sense. And I do remember that, like for who knows how many lifetimes we would just auto incarnate and just, live, die, probably in all different kinds of ways, getting into all different kinds of situations. Um, the murderer, the thief, the priest, the monk, the artist, the philosopher, the mathematician, on and on and on until we got to this point here through seniority of vibration. We made the cut to manifest here to aid in the harvest. And yeah, maybe in this moment, we don't need to do that. We don't need to be that way.
Yeah. Our
But
our intuition kind of guides us to not be so reckless.
yes, I agree with that. And I do feel like the there is a difference between living moment by moment, day by day with no plan. And there's a difference between that and being in the present moment. Like there's being in the present moment, which is like I would call it a mental configuration, which is very different from you just haphazardly going about your day. So those are two different things to me as well. I think where I would excel is being able to get into the mental state of being in that eternal now moment versus just externally living moment by moment without plans or reflection on anything I'm doing. Sorry, go ahead, Michael. I think you're muted if you're talking. I can't. Oh, wait, you
I'm
disappeared?
sorry.
Oh, no,
I
there you
wasn't.
are.
Sorry, I wanted to say, I mean, this has been beautiful. Honestly, I love um, what you've been saying, and yeah, I know what you mean about living in the moment. I try to, in my 30s, even though I kept responsibilities, I was very much day to day,
Hmm.
um, reckless, but more reckless. Nowadays, I really do try to, like even when I approach work, I don't try to. I do repairs, but I
Hmm.
try not to guess what it is. I try not to even look at what I'm going to do before I get there. I have what I have, and it's going to turn out the way it's going to turn out. But I
Okay.
try to make no assumptions on anything. That's my way of practicing that, or
Mm.
practicing just kind of being in the moment and just allowing the moment to show me what happens next.
Yes, I would consider that state of being in that eternal now moment, being present of the now moment, um, which, but still different from just living day by day or living in the moment in this kind of haphazard way. one is more, how can I say this? I'm trying to convey what's in my brain. Okay, one is more like, to me, a state of awareness, a state of beingness, and very much involving the non-manifested self within. And the other is more external and involves the manifested self and external actions. Ed, your hand was up?
Yeah, I was just going to say that, like, I don't know if it's my ADHD or dyslexia or whatever, but I'm terrible at planning stuff. I'm terrible at keeping, like, a schedule or timing or planning anything ever. So I've just kind of learned to live without planning, without needing any of that. And to be fair, it has just shown me that you can live via synchronicity. You can live via things just falling in your lap when you need them, because that's the whole point. Manifestation stuff, right? You don't ask for something specific. You ask to be looked after. You ask to have abundance. And when you think like that and you feel like that and you live like that, you realize you don't need any of that, the stuff that the world says. It all just happens for you anyway. Just my thoughts anyway.
Yeah. I understand where you're coming from, and again, I admire that way of being, because you're kind of forcing yourself to be in a position of just hanging on the divine providence of the creator, because you're not trying to necessarily steer anything with your will and your temporal perspectives. So you kind of naturally open up, I see, to more coming in for you from the creator. I acknowledge that as a valid and beautiful way of being, for sure. Bill?
Yeah, I think I completely I agree with you as far as being present. There's a difference between reacting and being present. And being present, you're kind of starting to come into, like you said, an awareness, higher awareness. You actually start to learn that the presence is the eternal now, and the eternal now is. Everything happening all at once. It just, you start to learn that there's no time, and there might be sequence and stuff like that, but it's a high to become present. You're really starting to have a higher awareness of things, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
And it's different than reacting.
Yes.
Yeah, because when you're present, you kind of can start to slow down. You go, oh, I don't need to react, or you can appreciate the moment. And if you take it to the higher level that the Confederation wants us to take it to, it's when you start to slow down and you actually can start to see the love in the moment, or look around and then notice that, oh, there might not be a lot of love in the moment, so I need to become the love in the moment. And that's a high level of conscious awareness.
Absolutely. I'm in resonance with that 100%. Thank you. I see you wrote here, we're giving the creator that juicy data of our experience. Yes. Yes. Become the love in the moment. Mm-hmm. Any other thoughts, comments, questions? Did anyone have